you are drifting. Not falling, not climbing, simply drifting, weightless and unhurried, through the vast, endless black. Stars glimmer softly in the distance, scattered like fine grains of sand on velvet cloth. Their light is gentle, cold, familiar. You let your thoughts slow to the pace of these distant fires, letting the silence settle like a warm, quiet blanket around your mind. Here, in this endless dark, time stretches and bends. You are aware of it differently, measured not in hours or minutes, but in the slow ballet of movement, the quiet motion of stone through emptiness. Far ahead, asteroids drift in patient silence. Some are small, no larger than houses, jagged with the scars of cosmic history. Others loom, mountains of rock and metal, their surfaces mottled with craters and pitted by impacts that happened long before life began on Earth. Each one hums with the memory of billions of years, whispers of fire, ice, and dust bound together by gravity's gentle hand. You feel their presence before you see them fully. They are almost alive in this moment, frozen in movement yet full of stories. You glide closer, and the first asteroid comes into focus. Its surface is rough, irregular, a tapestry of color and texture. Dark basalt ridges snake across pale patches of mineral dust. Tiny shards glint like frozen sparks under the distant sun. You reach out in imagination, letting your fingers brush against its invisible surface. The touch is imagined, but the sensation is real, cold, metallic, enduring. Here lies iron older than any human civilization, nickel blended into stone forged in the earliest fires of the solar system. Each grain of dust, each hidden cavity, is a word in a story written over eons. You notice something fascinating: the asteroid is not uniform. Patches of lighter rock reveal a quiet rhythm, layers upon layers compressed over unimaginable time. Small fractures cut delicate patterns, like frost on a window pane, telling tales of past collisions and near misses. Perhaps a comet once brushed it, leaving a trace of ice that melted and sublimated away. Perhaps solar winds slowly sculpted its surface. You imagine the asteroid remembering each encounter, recording them silently in its rock and metal. If you could listen closely enough, what secrets might it share? What ancient whispers could it pass on to a patient, thoughtful listener? Drifting past it, you consider the scale of this quiet universe. The spaces between these stones are immense, but the stones themselves are dense with history, with hidden potential. You imagine the metals within: gold, platinum, rare elements that took the furnace of stars to form. They lie dormant, waiting for someone, perhaps far in the future, to discover them. The idea is almost poetic: treasures older than Earth itself, patiently waiting in the cold dark for curiosity to reach them. Yet they are more than treasure. They are markers, signposts of cosmic evolution, pieces of the puzzle of how planets, moons, and even life itself emerged. A smaller asteroid drifts closer now. It tumbles gently, spinning with a rhythm only the void can provide. Dust rises and falls across its surface, as if breathing slowly, imperceptibly. You follow its spin, noting how light dances across irregular surfaces, casting long shadows that stretch endlessly. In your mind, you trace each ridge and indentation, feeling a calm connection to its silent, steady motion. You wonder, could you stand on it, if you had the courage to step into this strange, quiet orbit? What would it feel like to press a hand against rock that has never known warmth, water, or air? Your imagination takes you further. You picture humans, far in the future, traveling here with vessels built from ingenuity and dreams. They approach cautiously, tethered, landing softly to avoid shattering the asteroid's delicate surface. They study it, carefully extracting samples, learning the story hidden inside its layers. They find metals that shimmer with otherworldly light, materials that might power machines or build structures on distant planets. And yet, even as they harvest, they do so respectfully, aware that this stone is more than mere resource. It is a silent witness, a relic of creation itself, deserving of awe and care. The asteroid drifts away, and you notice how the darkness of space itself feels alive. It is not empty, not barren, but a stage where time stretches and motion whispers. Tiny particles float past, remnants of ancient collisions, carried for millions of years on invisible currents. You imagine the light bouncing, refracting, and glancing off them, scattering softly, like sparks in a slow, eternal fire. Space is not silent, it murmurs in a language too subtle for ears alone, a language of motion, of gravity, and of matter gently interacting across incomprehensible distances. You feel your own body, imagined weightless, moving gently through this silent ballet. Your breathing matches the rhythm of the stones around you, slow and meditative. You imagine touching one more asteroid, smaller this time, less conspicuous but no less precious. Its surface is smoother, worn by collisions that erase jagged edges over millennia. Tiny veins of mineral crisscross its surface, glinting faintly. You press your imaginary hand against it, and for a moment, it feels as though the stone recognizes you, acknowledges your quiet presence. Time passes differently here. Minutes and hours fade into insignificance, replaced by the steady pulse of observation and reflection. You think about the forces that shape these stones: gravity tugging silently, cosmic impacts reshaping surfaces, chemical reactions hidden beneath layers of rock. Each asteroid is a monument to patience, a reminder that change often comes imperceptibly, measured in millions or billions of years. You realize how small human lifespans are in comparison, yet how immense the potential of curiosity is. One mind, one mission, can touch the remnants of stars long gone. A faint glimmer catches your attention, a small fragment, broken from a larger body, tumbling gently. It spins, reflecting starlight, like a distant lantern. You follow it with gentle fascination, imagining its journey from the outer reaches of the solar system, swept inward by gravitational dances, perhaps carrying within it compounds that once traveled through comets or formed in cold nebulae. Everything here is connected. Nothing is truly separate. Each fragment, each rock, each planet and moon, participates in an intricate, cosmic conversation spanning time and space. As you drift, you start to understand the quiet invitation these asteroids offer. They do not speak loudly. They do not demand attention. Instead, they exist, patient and enduring, waiting for observation, for thought, for imagination. They ask only that you notice them, that you let your mind wander through their silent histories. You begin to see your own life reflected in them, brief, fleeting, yet capable of touching something much larger than yourself, of leaving a trace of awareness, however small, in the vastness. You continue floating, letting the asteroids fade gently behind you, knowing more lie ahead, countless stones waiting silently in their distant orbits. You are aware of the fragility of your attention, the delicacy of presence. And yet, there is calm in this awareness, a soft realization that observation itself is an act of connection. To drift here, to imagine, to witness, is to participate in a conversation spanning eons. You are not rushing. You are not demanding. You are simply present, and presence itself becomes a gentle form of understanding. A final thought settles softly in your mind. These stones are reminders of beginnings, of forces that shaped worlds, of time measured not in seconds but in epochs. Their silent motion teaches patience, their hidden treasures inspire curiosity, their sheer age humbles yet comforts. And as you float onward, you wonder what other secrets lie in the dark spaces ahead, what lessons the next stone will share, what echoes of creation await in places you have yet to drift. You drift gently through the quiet darkness of space, where the silence feels almost like music. Stars glimmer softly, each a distant sun, and between them float asteroids, silent travelers, ancient witnesses of the cosmos. They are not merely rocks, they are vessels of cosmic memory, carrying fragments of creation itself. You watch them spin slowly, tumbling in their endless ballet, and begin to notice the subtle variations in their surfaces. Some glint metallically, reflecting starlight like hidden jewels. Others shimmer faintly with icy frost, fragile layers of frozen history. And among them, there are hints of dark, complex compounds, organic whispers of the chemistry that, one day, might seed life. These asteroids were born billions of years ago, in the turbulent nurseries of the early solar system. Gravity drew clouds of dust and gas into spiraling vortices, and collisions molded the fragments into the shapes you now see. In those violent, chaotic moments, the atoms of hydrogen, carbon, iron, nickel, and silicon were set into motion, colliding, merging, and separating. Over immense spans of time, heat from radioactive decay and the friction of impacts transformed these grains into solid masses, giving rise to the varied textures and densities you now observe. Each asteroid is a miniature laboratory of elemental alchemy, a record of processes that unfolded long before Earth's oceans formed, long before life breathed its first tentative gasps. You imagine the iron and nickel deep inside some of these objects. They cooled slowly, forming crystalline patterns like the delicate lattices of frost on a window. These metals tell stories of pressure and patience, of atoms arranging themselves over eons into structures that are both rigid and strangely elegant. You run your mind along the surface of a metallic asteroid, feeling the weight of history in each atom, sensing the slow rhythm of creation embedded in the very bones of these wandering stones. It is a quiet, awe-filled meditation, this connection between the microcosm of atomic order and the macrocosm of celestial wandering. Not all asteroids are metallic. Many carry water locked within hydrated minerals, tiny capsules of liquid potential frozen in the cold vacuum. These icy bodies are silent keepers of one of the universe's most precious substances, water that has traveled light years, untouched and pristine. Some of it may have once brushed the early Earth in comet-like showers, whispering hints of chemistry that would later awaken life. As you ponder this, you begin to see the asteroid as a kind of messenger, delivering elements, telling stories, linking the distant past to the present, linking the heavens to the hands of those who might one day touch them. Organic molecules, too, drift quietly within certain asteroids. Simple chains of carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen, formed in the slow cauldron of interstellar clouds, now rest within rock, waiting. These molecules are not yet life, but they are potential. They are the quiet prelude to the complex chemistry that could, given the right conditions, stir into motion. You sense the elegance of this cosmic patience, atoms gathering, colliding, and bonding over unimaginable stretches of time, demonstrating that even in apparent emptiness, there is possibility. Your thoughts wander to the human future, to the hands that might one day reach for these objects. Mining asteroids is not merely extraction, it is collaboration with the universe's own slow work. Every mineral retrieved, every drop of water captured, is a continuation of processes that began long before our sun shone. In a sense, you realize, humans are not disrupting these cosmic alchemies, they are partners, learning to translate the language of atoms and molecules into tools and life-supporting resources. You feel a gentle humility in this realization, as if the stars themselves are offering lessons in patience, transformation, and interconnection. You visualize a metallic asteroid being mined, a delicate operation that must respect the stone's integrity. Lasers trace patterns across its surface, separating metals from the matrix of rock with precision guided by human ingenuity. Each fragment lifted is a story, a microcosm of cosmic history now entering human hands. The metals extracted, iron for strength, nickel for resilience, platinum for rare applications, are more than commodities. They are ancient remnants of supernovae, the deaths of stars whose fiery ends scattered elements across the galaxy. When these metals are used on Earth, or in orbit, they carry within them the memory of the cosmos, a tangible link to distant events that shaped our solar neighborhood. Water ice from other asteroids might be melted gently, purified, and eventually used to support life in orbiting habitats or distant colonies. The molecules, once part of a cold, unchanging stone, now sustain warmth and movement, nourishing human bodies and machines. And the organic compounds, the faint whispers of carbon chains, might one day be analyzed for insights into prebiotic chemistry. Even in this utilitarian approach, there is poetry, the universe offering its quiet gifts, patiently formed over billions of years, now meeting conscious human curiosity. Your mind lingers on the rhythm of cosmic formation. Dust coalescing into rock, heat shaping the interior, impacts scarifying the surface, ice crystallizing and sublimating, atoms forming molecules. These are processes that unfold without urgency, without expectation. You notice the similarity to your own thoughts, how ideas form slowly, connect unpredictably, and sometimes yield insight after long periods of quiet. There is a meditative quality in contemplating these stones, a reminder that creation, whether in the universe or in the mind, favors patience over haste. Asteroids drift in orbits guided by gravity, small yet persistent participants in the vast cosmic dance. They interact with planets, occasionally grazing atmospheres or striking surfaces, leaving craters that become time capsules of events long past. Their paths are neither random nor rigid, they are governed by subtle forces, resonances, and perturbations that ripple across space. In observing them, you recognize patterns and contingencies, the interplay of chaos and order, and you sense that the universe, in its immensity, holds a quiet balance that mirrors the delicate equilibrium within your own mind. You imagine journeying from one asteroid to another, touching surfaces shaped by fire and ice, by radiation and gravity, by the unseen hands of chemistry. You see the textures, the colors, the tiny veins of metal, the glints of ice, the shadowed pits. Each one is unique, each a small world unto itself, yet all are bound by common processes, a shared ancestry written in atoms. You sense the humility and wonder in observing these ancient travelers, realizing that what seems inert is, in fact, full of history, potential, and narrative. And so, in this quiet contemplation, you begin to understand the profound connection between the cosmos and human endeavor. The resources of asteroids are not merely practical, they are symbolic, tangible reminders that we are part of an ongoing story. Metal and ice, carbon and nitrogen, all were once scattered in the wake of stellar death and then patiently formed into bodies that drift silently in the void. Now, through careful observation, technology, and thought, humans reach toward them, extending the narrative of matter, energy, and possibility. As you gaze on, the boundaries between stone and story, between mineral and memory, blur. You feel a deep serenity in knowing that, while the universe unfolds at its own pace, there is room for human curiosity, ingenuity, and care. Each asteroid, spinning slowly in the quiet darkness, invites you to touch, study, and understand. And in return, it whispers back the secrets of formation, transformation, and potential, as though inviting you to continue the journey, to see not just what is, but what might be. You float, suspended in the quiet vastness, and notice the way the tiny rocks drift past you, unhurried, each one tracing a path that seems almost intentional. It is not random, though it might appear so at first glance. The invisible fingers of gravity tug and coax, bending trajectories, nudging asteroids along invisible highways. You reach out with your mind, imagining a hand feeling the gentle pull, and realize that in this cosmic silence, movement is never truly free. Each body carries with it a story written in acceleration, velocity, and distance. You begin to see how every orbit has a rhythm. Some are tight, looping close around a planet or star, spinning fast enough to hold a tiny satellite in its embrace. Others are wide, almost leisurely, swinging in lazy ellipses that take centuries to complete. These paths are the choreography of the universe, a dance that has no conductor but follows precise rules, a cosmic music sheet etched into space itself. You feel your own heartbeat slow as you align with this rhythm, sensing that to navigate safely, to reach for the rocks and metals that float like forgotten treasures, you must learn to move in step. Each asteroid, each fragment of rock or ice, carries a history. They were born from collisions, the shattering of ancient bodies that once circled stars long ago. Gravity, though gentle in its pull, is relentless over time. It gathers, separates, shapes. You imagine it as a slow river, flowing through the emptiness, carving invisible grooves in the fabric of the solar system. Following these grooves is not a matter of brute force, it is a matter of listening, understanding, and adjusting. The rocks will not rush toward you, they have their own agenda, set by a force you cannot see but can learn to read. As you drift closer to one particularly curious asteroid, you notice its spin. It is not random either. Gravity, combined with the asteroid's shape and rotation, creates subtle wobbling, an intricate pirouette in 3 dimensions. You imagine placing a tiny seed on its surface. The rotation might sweep it away, the pull of distant planets might tug it gently toward a stable resting point. Everything in space is in motion, and nothing truly rests. You begin to understand why the first step in any space harvesting mission is not the engines or the tools, but the map, the gravitational map that tells you where and when it is safe to move. You think of Lagrange points, those quiet pockets where gravitational pulls cancel each other out. They are like islands in the current, places where a rock or a ship can linger almost effortlessly. Imagine drifting toward one of these points, feeling your own craft become a part of the cosmic flow. You can rest there, but even rest is delicate. A small nudge, a passing comet, the whisper of solar radiation pressure, can move you out of balance. Yet within this precarious calm, opportunity blooms. These points are not just resting places, they are staging grounds, launching pads for journeys deeper into the asteroid belt or farther toward the gas giants. Gravity is patient. It does not hurry, and it does not tire. You feel a sense of reverence for this invisible architect of motion. A tiny miscalculation in your trajectory could turn a gentle drift into a dangerous spin, a missed connection into a missed opportunity. Yet, in its patience, gravity also teaches the lesson of timing. To intercept a wandering rock, you must calculate its path, anticipate its swing, and move not against the current but alongside it. Your engines are not fighting the universe, they are collaborating with it. You learn that every action has a reaction, that the simplest motion requires deep understanding. You begin to see gravity's influence as a language. The way a boulder curves around a larger rock, the subtle tug of the sun on a distant ice fragment, the way Jupiter corrals asteroids in its massive orbit. All these are sentences in a conversation that has been ongoing for billions of years. You cannot speak it perfectly at first, but you can listen. Each maneuver, each course correction, is like learning a new phrase, a new rhythm, a new way to coexist with the forces that shape everything. The universe is not chaotic, it is deliberate, and your awareness of its patterns is the bridge to safe passage and effective harvesting. The rocks themselves seem to respond to attention. Not with will, but with predictability. You watch as a small cluster drifts into a temporary orbital dance with a larger asteroid. One moment they seem separate, the next, they swing past each other in a careful curve dictated entirely by gravity. You think of how early astronomers observed the night sky, drawing lines between points of light and imagining the invisible pulls that bound them. Those were the first steps in understanding this silent music, steps that eventually make it possible to journey into the asteroid belt with purpose, not just curiosity. Time stretches. Days might pass unnoticed, measured only by the slow revolution of a distant planet or the approach of a tiny rock along its elliptical path. You feel the meditative aspect of this existence, the stillness between movements, the long waits punctuated by brief bursts of activity. Every small calculation, every adjustment, feels like a meditation in motion. You learn patience not because you have no other choice, but because the universe requires it. The rocks will not hurry, they cannot, and you, too, find a calm rhythm in the inevitability of their paths. You start to imagine the tools of asteroid harvesting, not as weapons or machines, but as extensions of understanding. A harvester must match velocities, synchronize rotations, and predict shifts in mass and momentum. There is elegance in this coordination. It is not brute force that succeeds, but precision guided by observation. You feel a quiet satisfaction imagining a small probe slipping gently into orbit around a metallic asteroid, using gravity itself to secure a position before extending its arms to collect fragments. Each motion is deliberate, a small conversation with the forces at play, an unspoken agreement between human intention and cosmic order. Even the smallest variations matter. A subtle tilt of a rock's axis, the gravitational whisper of a nearby moon, the solar radiation nudging it ever so slightly, these details are like tiny brushstrokes in a vast painting. You realize that understanding gravity is not just a matter of physics but of awareness, of empathy with the movements of matter across space. You feel a deepening respect for the natural choreography that guides asteroids, for the patterns that emerge when patience meets observation. To harvest the heavens, you must first become a student of the unseen currents, learning to anticipate without forcing, to observe without interfering. You feel your own body in orbit now, as if the knowledge of gravity has seeped into your muscles and mind. Each drift, each turn, feels synchronized with the cosmic dance. You could follow the trajectory of 1,000 rocks, intuitively adjusting for their spins and velocities. And yet, the lesson is not mastery, but humility. Gravity is patient and impartial, a teacher that never hurries, never complains, and never changes its rules. Your job is not to dominate, but to align, to flow with its rhythms, to respect the subtle forces that have guided matter since the formation of the solar system. In this slow, meditative rhythm, you see the vast potential of harvesting space. Each orbit is an opportunity, each gravitational curve a guide. You feel the anticipation of reaching out, of collecting the metals, the ice, the elements that drift silently yet faithfully through the void. And you know that before any physical interaction can occur, there is understanding, of motion, timing, and invisible pull. You realize that the first step to touching the heavens is not reaching with your hands, but reaching with your mind and attention, learning the language of gravitational dance. As you watch a distant asteroid begin its long, graceful orbit around a planet, you feel the silent pull tugging you forward, not harshly but insistently, guiding you toward the next chapter of exploration. There is so much more to learn, how to use gravity not just to observe but to navigate, to journey farther, and to collect with care. The universe has shared its rhythm, and now you are ready to move in step with it, drifting gently toward discoveries that are both vast and intimate. You stand at the edge of Earth's embrace, feeling the subtle pull of gravity fading as a rocket ascends. Flames lick the sky beneath you, but your heart carries a quieter fire, one ignited by curiosity. Above the clouds, silence deepens, a soft velvet where sound has no place. You are no longer bound to streets or trees or oceans. Your gaze stretches to a distant asteroid, a drifting lump of rock and metal that has witnessed eons of cosmic storms. The spacecraft shudders gently as it enters a slow orbit around the celestial visitor. Outside the window, the asteroid drifts lazily, rotating like a patient dancer in a cosmic ballroom. You imagine every crater as a scar, every ridge as a memory of collisions, ancient and silent. These rocks have never known human touch, yet you and your fellow travelers arrive with careful intention, not to mar or break, but to understand. Inside, robotic arms unfurl with the grace of a ballet. They extend and pivot, equipped with delicate instruments that would shame even the most skilled sculptor. You watch, fascinated, as a sensor glides over the jagged surface, measuring composition with a precision that seems almost intimate. Tiny sparks of information dance across the screens, iron, nickel, traces of rare elements, but you do not rush to read them. Instead, you inhale slowly, letting each observation settle like dust on your consciousness. The first scoop of material lifts gently from the asteroid's surface. It clings for a moment, like hesitant snowflakes reluctant to leave their cloud, before settling into a container designed to cradle it. You marvel at the engineering, at how human ingenuity can extend a gentle hand to something that floats untethered in the void. Every movement is measured, purposeful, yet there is poetry in the coordination, the slow choreography of machinery and mind, both working in harmony across the silence of space. You think about the history embedded in these rocks. Some are older than continents, older than the oceans, fragments from the birth of the solar system itself. To touch them, even indirectly, is to brush against time itself. The metals shimmer faintly under the craft's lights, catching hints of memory that predate life, predate thought. You imagine atoms dancing through cosmic storms, spinning freely until gravity nudged them into orbits and clumps, slowly building the asteroids that now drift so casually past you. Each sample is examined with a care that borders on reverence. Spectrometers hum, tiny lasers trace patterns in crystalline structures, and cameras capture every nook and ridge in exquisite detail. You float beside the instruments, your mind entwined with the robots, observing not just the data, but the deliberate thought behind each gesture. The scientists and engineers on Earth guide every motion from afar, their expertise a silent chorus echoing across millions of miles. Yet here, you feel the immediacy of connection, a gentle merging of human and machine intelligence that respects both the power of technology and the fragility of the cosmos. Time stretches differently in orbit. Minutes expand into contemplative waves, and hours dissolve into quiet observation. You notice small details, the way a fragment of rock shifts under microgravity, the way sunlight glances off a metallic vein like the shimmer of a hidden river. There is a rhythm here, not dictated by clocks, but by the slow, deliberate movements of hands and tools, by the natural spin of the asteroid, by the subtle sigh of the spacecraft as it adjusts its course. You feel your breathing align with this rhythm, slow and deep, as if your body, too, has learned to float. Sometimes, tiny surprises occur. A speck of dust breaks loose, spinning freely, catching a glint of reflected light, and you follow its path with unhurried fascination. Each particle has its own story, an individual journey through the void. You imagine billions of these grains drifting silently through the solar system, invisible witnesses to the slow dance of planets and moons, to collisions that ignite stars and scatter elements. Your mind feels lighter with each observation, as if the enormity of space has a way of untangling the knots of daily thought. The process of collection is as much meditation as it is science. You watch the robotic arm dip a scoop into a particularly pitted region, withdraw it slowly, then rotate it to ensure nothing is lost. The asteroid, indifferent to your presence, continues its leisurely spin. In its quiet persistence, you sense a profound lesson, that existence is measured not by urgency, but by steady endurance. The machines mirror this patience, moving neither too fast nor too slow, carrying human curiosity without overwhelming the delicate balance of a drifting rock. Analysis begins almost immediately. Instruments examine texture, composition, and magnetic properties. You lean closer to a screen, noting the subtle variances in color and density, but you resist the urge to jump to conclusions. Instead, you allow your thoughts to wander. What does this tell you about the early solar system? About collisions long before life emerged on Earth? Each sample is a whisper from a forgotten time, and you are here to listen, not to shout interpretations across the void. You notice the poetry in small moments. A glint of metallic nickel reflects the spacecraft's soft light, creating a tiny spark that seems almost alive. The asteroid's rotation casts shadows that stretch and fold, reminding you of mountains and valleys on Earth, though untouched by wind or water. You imagine the forces that shaped it, gravity tugging silently, impacts etching scars, eons of solar wind polishing surfaces imperceptibly. And as you imagine, you feel a kinship with this ancient traveler, sharing space, sharing motion, sharing a quiet curiosity. Communication with Earth is intermittent, and that gap gives you space to reflect. You wonder what it means to gather, to analyze, to touch without touching. The robots act as intermediaries, but your mind feels every motion. Each maneuver becomes a metaphor, the patient gathering of knowledge, the gentle handling of what is precious and unfamiliar, the careful translation of observation into understanding. The spacecraft hums softly, a lullaby of technology and human imagination entwined. Night, in this context, has no horizon, but you sense its approach through shadows shifting across the asteroid's surface. The final scoop is collected, stowed safely, and sealed for the journey home. You watch the robotic arm retract, folding back with the elegance of a bird's wing returning to rest. The asteroid drifts on, unchanged yet subtly altered by the presence of human curiosity. You feel both humbled and expanded, a quiet recognition that the universe allows such delicate touch, even across vast emptiness. In the final moments before departure, you hover near a window, letting your gaze drift over the asteroid one last time. There is a stillness here that mirrors what you carry inside, a mixture of wonder, patience, and gentle awe. The metals and dust, the quiet hum of machinery, the distant voices of Earth, all combine into a moment of profound reflection. You realize that to harvest stars is not merely to collect, it is to understand, to engage with time and matter in a way that is tender, deliberate, and mindful. As the spacecraft begins its slow retreat, you feel the soft tug of gravity returning, the subtle pull that signals your reentry into familiar space. Yet, a part of you remains suspended, orbiting that ancient rock, sharing its silent dance. You imagine future missions, more hands, more instruments, more delicate encounters with drifting fragments of history. And in this imagining, a quiet question arises. What other secrets, encoded in metal and stone, await the patient touch of human curiosity, floating silently beyond the light of the sun? You float in the quiet of space, a gentle hum of cosmic thought surrounding you. Above, stars shimmer like scattered grains of sand across a dark velvet sky. Each one pulses softly, like a distant heartbeat, reminding you that even in vastness, there is rhythm. Somewhere far beyond, the asteroid belt stretches in a silent arc, a field of wandering rocks, small yet persistent, orbiting with careful precision. You feel their presence before you see them, a subtle energy that whispers of ancient collisions and the slow shaping of worlds. Slowly, a map unfolds before your eyes. It is not a map of political boundaries or roads, but a living chart of celestial wanderers. Points of light trace elliptical paths, looping around an invisible center, each orbit a story in itself. You watch as tiny shapes move along these paths, rotating and tumbling, some smooth, some jagged. The patterns seem random at first, but when you breathe with them, you begin to sense a gentle order. Their rotations, though chaotic in fraction seconds, align into long-term symmetry across decades and centuries. You imagine the surfaces of these asteroids. Some are covered in fine dust, a soft blanket of regolith that shifts under cosmic breezes. Others glint with veins of metallic ore, fragments of iron and nickel telling of fiery pasts. You think of the minerals hidden beneath porous crusts, treasures that have traveled since the dawn of the solar system. And though you cannot touch them, your mind traces their textures, imagining the cold bite of metal, the brittle crunch of rock. Every imagined touch deepens your connection, like learning the language of silence. A faint rotation catches your attention. One asteroid spins slowly, almost lazily, its elongated shape tracing a delicate ellipse in your vision. You follow the motion, letting it lull your mind into a gentle rhythm. It spins, then tilts, then wobbles, a cosmic dance that has persisted long before humans looked skyward. You notice another, smaller companion, twirling nearby. The two seem to converse in silent harmonies, orbiting in steps that feel almost like a whispered conversation. You shift your gaze to the broader field. Thousands of these small worlds drift in a mosaic of space, each one unique, each one moving with quiet purpose. Some form clusters, families born of ancient collisions, siblings of rock and dust. Others move alone, solitary travelers tracing their independent paths. You sense the interplay between them, the occasional near miss, the gravitational nudges that alter trajectories imperceptibly. Even in seeming solitude, each asteroid participates in a larger story of balance and change. You let your mind wander into scale. How long have these rocks been here? Some are fragments older than Earth itself, forged in the furnaces of early stars and carried across the void. You imagine them witnessing epochs, unchanging yet ever-moving, carrying memory in their composition. Their surfaces hold the record of ancient impacts, solar winds, and cosmic radiation, a slow archive of the universe's past, waiting patiently for a curious mind to notice. A soft light seems to follow your attention, highlighting one asteroid in particular. You drift closer, as if gravity itself encourages exploration. Its shape is irregular, a rough sculpture of angles and curves. Shadows stretch across its surface, revealing small craters and ridges. You imagine dust particles shifting across these crevices, moved by the faintest vibrations, each tiny movement contributing to a silent, ongoing reshaping. You see patterns emerge, parallel lines in its texture, subtle curves that suggest prior collisions, layers of material accumulated over time. Every detail tells a story, and your mind records it without urgency, simply observing, simply understanding. The rotation of this asteroid feels like a heartbeat. You align your own breath to it, inhaling as it turns, exhaling as it tilts. There is comfort in the repetition, a quiet meditation of motion and presence. You realize that even in vast emptiness, there is an intimate connection waiting to be noticed. The asteroid's movement is not just a trajectory in space, but a rhythm that resonates with the pulse of the cosmos, the slow unfolding of matter over billions of years. You let curiosity drift further, imagining what lies inside. Is there a hollow cavity, a space where dust has settled into stillness? Are there veins of minerals waiting to be uncovered, each one a relic of fiery beginnings? You consider the scientific tools that could probe these mysteries: radar reflections, spectral analysis, robotic explorers. Each method is a quiet extension of human wonder, a way to touch the unreachable through thought and observation. You sense the elegance in this pursuit, the patience required to let knowledge accumulate slowly, like sediment layering across eons. As your attention sweeps the asteroid field, you notice variations in color and texture. Some rocks are darker, almost charcoal black, absorbing the faint sunlight like a sponge. Others are lighter, almost luminous, reflecting soft rays that trace patterns across their surfaces. The diversity is mesmerizing, each asteroid a tiny experiment in chemistry and physics, sculpted by forces both violent and gentle. You watch a small fragment collide softly with another, creating a barely perceptible spark that fades immediately, yet leaves an imprint in your imagination. The universe continues its work quietly, without haste, and you learn to honor its pace. You think of the journeys these rocks have taken. Some may have traveled from the outer reaches of the solar system, drifting inward over millennia. Others were expelled from collisions closer to the sun, flung into orbits that became their lifelong path. Each one carries memory, a testament to motion, impact, and resilience. As you trace these paths mentally, you feel a sense of continuity, a gentle understanding that everything is interconnected: motion, mass, time, and observation, woven into the fabric of space. Your mind begins to drift in abstraction, seeing the asteroid field as a living network of motion. You imagine invisible threads connecting each body, threads of gravity and momentum, nudging and guiding. You feel a subtle empathy for these wandering worlds, understanding their persistence, their quiet endurance in a vast and indifferent space. There is beauty in their survival, and in noticing that beauty, you feel your own consciousness align with a larger rhythm. The stars above continue to blink, steady companions to the silent rocks below. Their light reaches you in fragile, ancient beams, mingling with the gentle reflections from asteroid surfaces. You float in this space of observation and imagination, where understanding is a soft glow rather than a sharp illumination. Knowledge and feeling intertwine, forming a meditative awareness that is both intellectual and emotional. You realize that even without touching, even without altering, you are connected to this vast system through attention and imagination alone. And as you begin to turn your mind toward what lies beyond the asteroid belt, you sense a gentle invitation. The rocks have shared their quiet patterns with you, teaching you patience, observation, and the poetry of motion. Yet the story continues, and just past this field, other celestial wonders wait, each with its own rhythm, its own texture, and its own subtle lessons. You float above the asteroid, your gloved fingers brushing against the cold metallic rock, and you feel a curious reverence. It is as if the stone itself notices your presence, responding to your care with an almost imperceptible shimmer under the sunless light. There is no gravity to anchor you, no weight to remind you of your place, and yet you are tethered in a dance with the asteroid, moving deliberately, slowly, with intention. The drills you hold are extensions of your own hands, each rotation measured, each laser beam guided by patience rather than urgency. You begin by mapping the surface in your mind, tracing ridges and grooves that speak of ancient collisions and solar wind scars. Each indentation tells a story, perhaps a moment when this fragment of space collided with another, perhaps when cosmic dust settled, layer upon layer, silently recording the history of the solar system. Your magnetic net hovers beside you, ready to gather loose pebbles without disturbing the delicate equilibrium of this floating world. You marvel at how even in the vast emptiness, connections exist. Your presence, your tools, the asteroid's surface, all move together in quiet choreography. Your movements are slow, almost meditative. You extend a drill, feeling the tiny vibrations as it penetrates the surface, coaxing out samples that have lain untouched for millions, even billions, of years. Each fragment is a capsule of time, holding the fingerprints of cosmic forces that shaped the universe long before humans could even dream of reaching space. The drill is not merely a tool but a translator, revealing what the stone has silently carried through the eons. You imagine the atoms within these fragments, billions of them, each with its own trajectory, each part of a larger cosmic tale. As you work, you notice the subtle way light scatters across the asteroid's uneven surface. In zero gravity, shadows stretch and curve in unexpected ways, giving depth to the craters and ridges, revealing details you might have missed otherwise. The light is a gentle guide, pointing you toward the sections richest with information. You move along the asteroid slowly, a rhythm forming: observe, select, extract, store, repeat. There is no rush, no deadline, just the patient unfolding of understanding. Each action is deliberate, a small meditation in motion. Sometimes, a fragment resists, embedded too deeply, stubborn against extraction. You pause, breathing slowly in your helmet, feeling the weight of patience. You reposition, angle your tools differently, and approach again with renewed care. The asteroid does not demand, it invites. You learn to negotiate, to listen, to understand that even a small fragment has its own will, its own story, waiting to be read in its own time. Your heartbeat slows to match the gentle rhythm of the tools, the asteroid, the silent void surrounding you. The magnetic net catches a tiny stone, lifting it gently toward your container. You watch it float, spinning slowly, reflecting pinpricks of light as if the universe itself were applauding the small success. There is a profound intimacy in these moments, a connection forged through patience and attention. Each fragment becomes more than rock, it is a companion, a storyteller, a fragment of ancient memory that you now hold and understand. You imagine holding a fragment up to the visor of your helmet, seeing it rotate in the muted sunlight of space. It glimmers faintly, a tiny relic of formation processes that occurred before Earth existed. You think of the collisions, the heat, the radiation that carved its shape and composition over billions of years. Your mind drifts into the poetic understanding that to hold such a fragment is to hold a piece of the universe's memory, a record of forces larger than comprehension yet intimate enough to touch. There is also a silence here, profound and expansive. The kind of silence that cannot be found on Earth, where wind, life, and gravity always impose their noise. This silence is liquid, surrounding you completely, allowing your thoughts to float unencumbered. In this quiet, even the act of work becomes prayerful. You drill, you scoop, you examine, each gesture a conversation with the asteroid, a dialogue that requires no words. You feel yourself becoming part of this space, part of its patient persistence, its slow accumulation of history. Occasionally, you drift too far from your tethered tools, and a subtle tug reminds you to recalibrate. It is a gentle nudge from physics itself, ensuring that you move with respect to the environment. You understand that even in freedom, boundaries exist, and respecting them is part of the art. Each movement is deliberate, each pause is meaningful. There is beauty in the constraints, and wisdom in learning to navigate them. You reflect on the tools themselves, the drills, lasers, and nets designed for zero gravity. They are human ingenuity translated into delicate interaction, designed not to dominate but to collaborate. Each has a purpose, a role in this slow ballet of exploration. You imagine the engineers who dreamed them into existence, not as weapons, but as extensions of thought, designed to allow careful dialogue with rocks that have drifted silently for eons. Your mind drifts to the idea that this work mirrors life itself. Patience, attention, and care are as necessary in tending to an asteroid as they are in tending to the moments of your own existence. The universe does not hurry, time is vast, generous, and relentless. In your hands, the fragments respond, revealing secrets at their own pace. You do not rush them, and in return, they reward you with insight, a soft whisper of understanding that is both intellectual and emotional. Hours, or perhaps it is only minutes, for time is fluid here, pass in gentle repetition. You catalog, store, and observe. Each fragment becomes a memory, a note in a symphony of cosmic history. You feel the weightlessness not as emptiness, but as liberation, allowing your thoughts to expand along with the vastness surrounding you. You are small, yes, yet intimately connected to forces that are unimaginably large, a thread in the tapestry of creation. As your collection grows, you begin to notice patterns in the fragments. Metallic veins here, silicate dust there, hints of water or organic molecules tucked within. Each detail carries implications for understanding planetary formation, the migration of materials in the solar system, and perhaps even the origins of life itself. You marvel that such tiny fragments hold such grand stories, that patient observation can unveil universes of information in something smaller than a pebble. In these moments, the boundary between scientist and dreamer blurs. You are no longer merely extracting samples, you are conversing with history, participating in a slow, poetic process that extends across billions of years. You feel gratitude toward the asteroid, toward the void that holds it, toward the processes that shaped it, and toward yourself for being present to witness and interpret. Each gesture is deliberate, yet it carries an unspoken awe, a humility before the vastness of time and space. The light begins to shift subtly, though there is no day or night here. Shadows lengthen across craters, highlighting details previously unnoticed. You pause, letting your mind wander across the surfaces, imagining the collisions that formed these textures. In zero gravity, there is no rush, there is only the unfolding of discovery at its own pace. You feel your breath slow, your heart align with the rhythm of this silent world. Finally, you gather the last fragment for this session, holding it gently as it floats before you. You feel a quiet completion, not of the work itself, which is endless, but of this moment, this dialogue with the ancient stone. You store it carefully, imagining the insights it may yield once returned to Earth. And yet, even as the collection is complete, the asteroid continues to drift, patient and unmoved, inviting you to return, to continue learning, to explore its surface and secrets with the same deliberate, meditative care. The asteroid is a teacher, and you are a student of slow understanding, of quiet attention, of connection with something larger than yourself. And as you drift alongside it, instruments in hand, you realize that the universe's whispers are always waiting, soft and persistent, ready for the patient listener to hear. You float in silence, weightless among the fragments of an ancient world. Around you, asteroids drift like scattered notes of a forgotten melody, tumbling slowly in the deep, dark theater of space. Your hands extend gently toward a small rock, irregular and pitted, yet luminous in the faint glow of the distant sun. Its surface is etched with the quiet history of the cosmos, and as your fingers brush against it, you imagine the journey it has taken. Billions of years spent wandering the void, colliding, spinning, cooling, carrying within it the story of our solar system before life even stirred on Earth. Every touch is deliberate. Every movement is a ritual. You reach for a fragment of iron, embedded within the rough crust, its metallic sheen catching the light like a secret waiting to be discovered. This is not a hurried task. In the slow, deliberate motions of extraction, there is a meditation. You align your instruments with the asteroid's rotation, tracing the subtle curves of its surface. There is a rhythm to this work, a pulse that echoes the heartbeat of the universe. The asteroid does not resist, it yields in its own time, offering its treasures quietly. As you collect the raw metals, you sense their latent potential. Platinum, nickel, and iron, elements that once formed in the cores of long-dead stars, now lie within your grasp. These materials, born in the fire of stellar collapse, will be reborn in human hands, transformed into circuits, spacecraft, and structures that reach back toward the heavens. There is a sacred symmetry in this cycle. From cosmic birth to earthly utility, matter travels through time and space, connecting your present moment to epochs that preceded human thought. Your eyes drift toward a shard of ice, translucent and fragile. It floats gently, suspended as though held by invisible threads. Water, perhaps mingled with traces of ammonia or carbon, seems unremarkable at first, yet you know it is the key to life beyond Earth. Each drop, each crystal, contains the potential to nurture colonies, to sustain journeys, to mirror the rivers and oceans of a planet you once called home. You reach out, feeling the delicate cold seep through the gloves of your suit. In this quiet encounter, you sense the intimacy of cosmic hospitality, the universe offering the ingredients for life, waiting for understanding to follow. The process of mining is slow, almost ceremonial. Machines hum softly, hydraulic arms moving in gentle arcs, while your own body floats with deliberate grace. Dust drifts lazily, suspended in the microgravity, catching slivers of light like tiny stars within a star. There is no rush. There is no urgency. Only the awareness that each fragment, each flake of ice or metallic nugget, is older than any memory you have, older than mountains or oceans, older than the first whispers of life on Earth. You carry this reverence with each motion, allowing it to guide your hands and calm your mind. As you extract, you consider the transformation ahead. These raw elements, once bound within the asteroid's rugged form, will journey toward human civilization, reshaped and repurposed. Iron may become the framework of orbital habitats. Nickel may flow into circuits powering the minds of machines. Ice may be distilled into water for drinking, for fuel, for sustaining fragile colonies on distant worlds. You feel the weight of responsibility, not as a burden, but as a quiet honor. To touch the ancient matter of the cosmos is to recognize the fragility and potential of human endeavor. Your mind drifts to the stories these rocks could tell. Collisions that shaped their forms, cosmic winds that carved their surfaces, radiation that etched invisible patterns over millennia. Each fragment is a chronicle, a frozen diary of events that unfolded long before any human ever looked up at the night sky. And yet here you are, listening to it in the language of touch and observation, translating its silence into purpose. There is beauty in this comprehension, a gentle clarity that flows through the rhythm of your work. The ritual deepens as you sort and categorize. Metals into one container, volatiles into another, and precious elements like platinum or gold separated with care. It is not a mechanical sorting, it is an intimate conversation between human curiosity and cosmic history. You marvel at the simple perfection of this interaction. Even in the vast emptiness of space, the act of understanding brings a warmth, a grounding sensation, as if the universe itself is acknowledging your presence. You pause for a moment, allowing yourself to float freely, unburdened by tasks. Around you, the asteroid field glimmers, each body moving in its eternal dance. You notice the subtle collisions, fragments ricocheting gently off one another, a quiet reminder that change is constant, even in stillness. And you, too, are part of that continuity. The materials you have gathered will flow into a larger story, one in which human ingenuity and cosmic history intertwine. There is humility in this realization, a softening of the ego, as if the universe is teaching patience and reverence through its own slow choreography. Thoughts of future use arise gently. You imagine construction crews assembling modules from these metals, engineers and scientists breathing life into what was once inert. Ice, melted and purified, will sustain life. Metals, shaped and refined, will carry signals and structures across the void. The asteroid, once drifting aimlessly, now becomes a bridge between worlds. There is poetry in this transformation, a tangible manifestation of human imagination harnessed in harmony with the silent wisdom of the cosmos. Time becomes elastic. Hours stretch and fold in the microgravity, but you do not feel fatigue. The work itself is a lullaby, each movement a note in an ongoing cosmic symphony. You become attuned to the asteroid's contours, the way dust settles, the faint hum of equipment, the soft glint of metal in the sun's distant rays. There is no hurry, there is only presence. And in this presence, understanding blooms. You comprehend not just the utility of these elements, but their intrinsic story, their journey from stars to spacefarers. As you conclude a cycle of collection, you take a final glance at the asteroid's surface. Tiny fragments float away, liberated into orbit, joining an endless procession of matter in motion. There is no sense of loss, only of continuation. You feel a quiet kinship with the rock, a recognition that life, thought, and exploration are temporary manifestations of the universe's slow unfolding. The materials you have gathered will leave traces of human curiosity, but they will also carry the memory of billions of years of cosmic history. You gather the final pieces and secure them carefully, a ritual closure to this phase of work. And yet, there is an unresolved question lingering in the calm. What further secrets do these wandering bodies hold? What mysteries remain in the silent shadows of the asteroid belt? You feel the gentle pull of curiosity, the tender insistence of wonder, reminding you that the universe is never fully revealed, that each discovery is a step in an ongoing journey. As you drift toward your next destination, the collected materials secured and the asteroid receding behind you, the quiet hum of your spacecraft fills the void. You allow yourself to feel the weight and significance of what you carry, both physically and intellectually. Metals, ice, and cosmic dust are not just resources, they are reminders, teachers, and companions in the endless exploration of existence. The chapter of harvesting is complete, yet the story of understanding, of transformation, and of human presence in the cosmos continues, flowing seamlessly into the questions that lie ahead, waiting in the soft darkness beyond. You float among the stars, a quiet observer of human ambition touching the vast, cold expanse. Out there, suspended in orbit, the first factories awaken. They are not noisy places, not in the way earthly industry is loud and clanging. Instead, they hum, a soft resonance that seems to pulse with the heartbeat of the cosmos. Each movement is deliberate, like a slow dance, as if the machines themselves are listening to the rhythm of the universe. The factories themselves are made from fragments of asteroids, their metallic veins glinting faintly against the darkness. You watch as robotic arms, precise and tireless, extract raw ore from their surfaces. Tiny sparks of light flare when materials are cut or reshaped, but they vanish almost instantly into the vacuum. There is no hurry here, every action is measured, like inhaling and exhaling, a meditation translated into motion. Humans, though not physically present in these factories, guide every motion from afar. You can feel their presence in the patterns of assembly, in the care with which each component is formed. It is as if the creators have whispered instructions into the machines, and the machines are replying in gestures of steel and light. The asteroids themselves seem to yield willingly, offering up their treasures: nickel, iron, platinum, rare metals that would take centuries to mine on Earth. You follow a beam of robotic energy, watching as it transforms raw metal into structural beams, cables, and panels. Each piece fits perfectly with another, as though the asteroid itself had known the shape it was meant to become. In this slow construction, you sense poetry, geometry dancing with purpose. Even in the emptiness of space, there is a kind of music, carried not through air but through the subtle alignment of movement and intent. Time here is different. A day passes, yet it feels like minutes. Shadows stretch across the factory surfaces, pulled by the light of distant suns, and the hum continues, unbroken. You realize that the machines and their human guides have entered a rhythm that mirrors the planets themselves: orbit, rotation, revolution. In every motion, there is balance. In every action, there is patience. Somewhere deeper in the asteroid's hollowed core, you see the beginnings of energy storage. Vast cells, like quiet heart chambers, accumulate sunlight captured by delicate arrays of mirrors. Each photon caught is precious, a tiny spark of life stored for use in shaping metal, driving engines, or illuminating habitats that may one day rise nearby. You feel the intimacy of this process, the way humans have learned to gather, conserve, and transform energy without haste. And yet, there is more than function here. There is beauty. You notice the way molten metal cools into lattice-like patterns, fractal formations that echo the branching of trees or the veins of leaves. The surfaces glimmer in strange, iridescent colors, reflecting the sun in waves of silver, gold, and copper. It is as if the universe itself is leaving fingerprints, subtle marks of its design, inviting you to pause and wonder. You drift closer to one of the central assembly bays. Robotic manipulators delicately piece together modules that will one day become spacecraft, research stations, or habitats. Each joint and seal is tested repeatedly, sensors humming softly, reading the tension and alignment of materials. You can almost feel the patient concentration of the unseen engineers on Earth, their fingers guiding code, their minds extending into the void. Occasionally, a small asteroid fragment drifts past, carried by the pull of microgravity. The factory captures it effortlessly, a choreographed motion that feels like catching a falling leaf. It is transformed, repurposed, becoming part of something larger, a structure, a tool, a step toward human expansion. Here, nothing is wasted. Even the tiniest piece of cosmic debris has potential. You realize that this practice is an art as much as a science, an expression of human adaptability and reverence for the universe's bounty. Time bends again, stretching over months in your perception. The factory grows, module by module, orbit by orbit. It is a slow choreography, and you can feel the accumulation of knowledge embedded in every weld, every cable, every carefully aligned panel. Humans are learning from the asteroids and the machines, while the machines are learning from humans. There is a feedback, subtle and continuous, like the whisper of wind across a calm lake. You watch as raw materials are not only transformed into structures but into energy systems, propulsion units, and life support modules. It is an ecosystem of creation, self-sustaining, and harmonious. The factory itself seems alive, though it is composed of metal and silicon. You can almost hear it thinking, feeling the rhythms of energy flow and material stress, the patterns of construction and repair. It is a mindless intelligence, yet it conveys a sense of purpose, a quiet dedication to the work at hand. And still, there is wonder in every small detail. Tiny robots repair each other as they wear, recycling broken parts into new components. Lights blink softly in sequence, like the slow pulse of a distant heartbeat. In some modules, the surface of the asteroid is smoothed into mirror-like panels, reflecting stars and planets in patterns that are both functional and mesmerizing. You feel a gentle awe, as though you are witnessing the birth of a new kind of art, one that is scientific, industrial, and yet profoundly poetic. As the factory reaches its full orbit, you notice communication beams stretching toward Earth. Data, images, and readings flow across millions of kilometers in a delicate, invisible dance. Scientists and engineers on our home planet watch and guide, adjusting parameters, suggesting new directions, responding to the living feedback of their creations. You sense the intimacy of this connection, a tether between worlds, unbroken and tender. In the quiet of space, the factories continue their endless, meditative work. Dust swirls around distant modules, catching light in subtle glimmers. You can imagine future factories, larger and more complex, perhaps spreading across multiple asteroids or orbiting planets. But for now, these first pioneers carry the weight of discovery lightly, with the elegance of deliberate patience. The universe seems to hold its breath, watching these human efforts unfold. You feel yourself in rhythm with the slow unfolding of creation, a silent witness to ingenuity, patience, and curiosity. The factories are more than tools, they are expressions of possibility, statements that life can reach beyond the cradle of Earth and harmonize with the vast, indifferent cosmos. And as you drift away from the softly humming assembly lines, you carry a quiet sense of anticipation. These first factories are just the beginning. Each piece of metal, each storage cell, each mirrored panel is a note in a symphony that is only beginning to play. You realize that the next chapter of this journey may not be here among the machines, but in the spaces they prepare, habitats, laboratories, vessels, and perhaps even the first glimpses of human life thriving in orbit. You drift slowly through the void, a small vessel navigating a sea of ancient stones. Each asteroid, like a silent sentinel, drifts with its own rhythm, tumbling and spinning, indifferent to your presence. Some shimmer with ice, reflecting starlight in fractured patterns. Others are dark, almost invisible, whispering secrets of primordial formation. Here, in this quiet expanse, danger is not loud. It does not announce itself with a crash or a shout. It waits patiently, subtle and persistent, as if teaching you to notice the small things. A jagged edge, a shift in trajectory, the faint whisper of radiation, these are the silent teachers. Your mind senses the paradox of this environment. It is vast, yet every fragment demands attention. You feel the fragility of your craft, the delicacy of the instruments, and the tenuous thread by which human ambition hangs in the cosmos. There is humility here, a reminder that despite all preparation, the universe will not bend to your will. It moves at its own pace, uncaring yet consistent, a rhythm older than any human memory. You begin to learn the art of stillness, the practice of quiet observation. Each careful maneuver, each patient calculation, becomes an act of respect. Rocks drift in unpredictable arcs, some larger than the mind can easily grasp, others smaller but dense with hidden mass. You notice a fragment ahead, rotating in slow, almost deliberate motion. You trace its path, estimating how its spin might affect nearby debris. One misjudgment could send shrapnel across a path you had planned to take. And yet, there is beauty in this chaos. The stones tell a story of collisions past, of eons where forces collided and fused in silent artistry. You understand, gradually, that hazard and wonder are entwined. The danger itself teaches reverence, the way a teacher guides without speaking, through careful shaping of the environment. Radiation flows invisibly, an ever-present current threading through the void. You feel it not with pain but as a subtle awareness, a gentle hum beneath your skin, reminding you of the immense energy that surrounds these fragments. Each solar gust carries a memory of the sun's fusion, spreading light and warmth, yet demanding caution. You adjust shielding and trajectory, acknowledging the invisible presence with care. There is patience in this work, a slow negotiation with forces you cannot see. You learn to respect the unseen, to trust instruments and instincts alike, to remain attentive without fear. In this rhythm, you find a quiet meditation, the dance of particles and human vigilance, entwined in a lesson older than any instruction manual. You glide past a particularly jagged cluster, and for a moment, you imagine touching the stones with your hands. They are older than the earth itself, remnants of beginnings you cannot fully comprehend. Each crack and scar is a story of collisions, of survival, of quiet evolution in the absence of life. Your mind stretches to understand their journey, and with that understanding comes reverence. Hazard and history are inseparable here. To navigate safely is to honor that history, to move with awareness and respect rather than reckless ambition. Each decision, each careful adjustment of thrust, becomes an intimate conversation with time itself. There is a rhythm to your breathing, matched by the pulses of instruments and the gentle creak of the vessel. The cosmos feels alive, not in the sense of consciousness, but as a tapestry of interactions, each stone, each particle, each photon carrying the memory of immense processes. You realize that danger is woven into this fabric, not as punishment, but as teacher. In a universe this vast, mistakes are lessons, and patience is the compass that guides you through uncertainty. You learn to slow your mind, to anticipate subtle shifts, to read the language of motion and light. Occasionally, a micrometeorite streaks past, a silent messenger from distant regions. You watch it, imagining the journey it has taken, the forces that have shaped it, and the cosmic patience that has allowed it to endure. It is a fleeting spark, yet its presence reminds you of the persistent vulnerability of your vessel and your own mortality. And yet, you feel calm rather than afraid. The universe is neither malevolent nor benevolent, it simply exists, in its vast, unhurried way. Your task is not to conquer it but to move in harmony with its subtle rhythms, to recognize hazards without panic, and to learn from the quiet persistence of forces beyond your control. The surface of some asteroids is jagged and irregular, like frozen waves, while others are smooth and pockmarked with tiny craters, each a testament to countless collisions. You navigate along their edges, marveling at their individual characteristics, each a small world with its own personality. You notice differences in reflectivity, in density, in rotation. You note them quietly, aware that even a small misjudgment in trajectory could turn beauty into danger. Your observations are slow, deliberate, almost reverent. In each calculation and maneuver, there is mindfulness, a recognition that you are not merely passing through space, but engaging in a dialogue with it. Time seems to stretch here. Minutes fold into hours as you glide through the asteroid field, and yet the universe moves at a pace far beyond your comprehension. You feel a sense of humility, a soft awareness of your fleeting presence. Even as you steer with careful precision, you are reminded that survival depends on understanding and patience, not on speed or force. Each fragment of rock becomes a guide, teaching you how to move without haste, how to anticipate the unseen, and how to honor the stillness that surrounds you. Solar winds press gently against the vessel, a soft reminder of the sun's presence. You feel it as a whisper, not a threat, as you adjust orientation to protect sensitive instruments. You reflect on the paradox of power and delicacy. The sun holds energy unimaginable, yet its touch can be mitigated by thin layers of shielding. Similarly, you hold influence through careful choices, not brute strength. In this environment, mastery is subtle. Awareness, respect, and patience are the instruments of survival. Each adjustment is an act of mindfulness, a recognition that progress and safety are inseparable when dancing with unseen hazards. You notice a faint glint from a distant asteroid, its surface catching the edge of sunlight. It seems to shimmer, a distant beacon, reminding you of the beauty hidden within risk. You imagine stories of formation, of ancient collisions, of long journeys through darkness. Even as you navigate hazards, you feel connected to these silent travelers. They teach you about resilience and the quiet persistence of matter across eons. Your role is small, yet significant, to move with understanding, to honor the vastness and subtlety of the universe, and to carry forward the lessons of observation and care. Every adjustment of your path, every careful measurement, every quiet acknowledgement of risk, becomes a meditation. You begin to see the hazards not as obstacles but as companions in the journey. They whisper lessons of patience and humility, of the necessity of careful attention, and of the enduring beauty found in resilience. Danger is not absent from this journey, nor is it frightening. It is instructive, a teacher whose lessons are delivered in silence and subtlety, demanding only that you listen and respond with awareness. As you move deeper into the field, the interplay of shadows and light across rocks becomes a slow ballet, a meditation in motion. You watch fragments rotate and collide gently, witnessing microcosms of cosmic history unfold before you. Each encounter with hazard reinforces a gentle truth. Understanding requires observation, and patience is the bridge between curiosity and safety. You feel a quiet joy in this balance, a reverence for the forces that shape not only stones but also the rhythm of your own thoughts. Your journey through this silent, hazardous sea leaves an imprint of calm vigilance. You realize that danger teaches care, and care nurtures understanding. The universe is vast, indifferent, yet profoundly instructive. Each decision you make is a conversation with the cosmos, and each cautious movement carries a lesson in humility. You drift forward, attentive and serene, feeling the pulse of ancient rocks, the whisper of solar winds, and the soft presence of invisible currents. Every hazard becomes a mirror, reflecting the gentle patience and respect that human ambition must carry when touching the quiet edges of space. You float in the gentle expanse of space, weightless and calm, as if the universe itself cradles you. Around you, countless specks of rock drift silently, each one carrying secrets older than the sunlight that brushes your face. Some are tiny, no bigger than pebbles on a forest path, while others are colossal, tumbling slowly in silent choreography. In this serene ballet, you feel the pulse of cosmic time, slow, vast, and patient. Every asteroid seems alive, whispering stories of formation, collision, and the quiet passage of millennia. Your mind drifts to the possibilities that these wandering stones hold. Each asteroid is a tiny vault of resources, metals forged in ancient stars, minerals that could one day power machines, cities, or even entire worlds. Iron and nickel glint like distant memories in the sun's glow. Rare metals, hidden in mottled patches, shimmer like secret treasures waiting for careful hands to discover them. You feel the weight of potential pressing gently against your imagination, not as urgency, but as quiet encouragement. You envision the engineers and explorers who will journey here in the future. They glide through the void with precision, guided by instruments that translate invisible signals into understanding. You imagine their spacesuits reflecting the light of distant suns, their eyes wide with wonder as they touch the surface of stones older than human memory. Every scoop of regolith, every chip of rock, is a step in a delicate conversation between human curiosity and the universe's patient answer. You can almost hear the soft hum of machinery, careful and deliberate, harmonizing with the silent music of orbiting rocks. Energy pulses through your thoughts, literally, as you consider the technologies that will harness sunlight, the heat of asteroids, or the kinetic dance of moving rocks. Solar sails glimmer like giant moth wings, capturing the sun's rays with gentle elegance. Mining drones, small and nimble, flit between surfaces, taking only what is needed, leaving the stone mostly untouched. You picture a system of sharing, metals for medicine, rare minerals for electronics, energy distributed across colonies, each resource flowing like a calm river from one corner of human endeavor to another. The cosmos, in its quiet impartiality, becomes an enabler of collaboration, rather than conflict. In your mind, the quiet, measured pace of space exploration mirrors the rhythms of life on Earth. You imagine children learning the names of minerals as they grow, their hands tracing the textures of space rocks in tactile models, while stories of distant worlds stir their dreams. Scholars calculate trajectories while poets write verses about floating stones. Engineers whisper to their instruments, negotiating gentle touch with celestial mechanics. There is a harmony here, a balance between human ambition and cosmic patience, and you feel it resonate in your chest. The concept of value takes on a soft, flexible meaning. Preciousness is not just in rarity or wealth, but in potential, the spark of discovery, the chance to understand how planets form, how stars breathe their elements into the void, and how even a fragment of an asteroid can tell a story millions of years old. You let your thoughts linger on the iron cores hidden beneath craggy surfaces, imagining how they once churned molten and fiery, shaping small worlds before drifting quietly into space. You feel a gentle reverence for the persistence of matter, for the quiet work of creation that continues without applause. You notice patterns emerging in your vision. Some asteroids cluster, dancing together in slow orbits, while others wander alone. Each trajectory tells a story of gravity and time, of ancient collisions and escapes. You realize that every movement is a question and an answer, a dialogue in the language of physics. Human hands may one day translate that language into energy, infrastructure, and understanding. Yet the poetry of motion remains unchanged, independent of human intervention. The cosmos does not hurry, yet it is never idle. You breathe slowly, matching your rhythm to this cosmic heartbeat. Your imagination drifts further, picturing colonies that rely on asteroid materials to grow gently like gardens in the void. You see spinning habitats, rivers of water recycled, metals woven into structures like threads in a tapestry. Lights twinkle like tiny stars in corridors where children play, scientists ponder, and artists dream. Asteroids become partners rather than resources. They are chapters in an ongoing story of human ingenuity, resilience, and reverence for the universe. You feel the subtle hum of anticipation, the quiet energy of a future that is being written slowly, deliberately, with care. You consider the philosophical weight of this endeavor. To mine an asteroid is not merely to extract, it is to translate the universe's history into human understanding, to take a fragment of deep time and fold it gently into the present. You sense a kinship with explorers of old oceans, who mapped unknown continents, who measured winds and tides, yet now your map is of stone and orbit, of silent drifting worlds. Each discovery feels like a soft conversation between the infinite patience of space and the persistent curiosity of humanity. In the stillness, you think about what it means to gaze at a small rock tumbling through void. It is a mirror of perspective. Tiny and insignificant on its own, yet profound in context. It carries the weight of stars, the motion of planets, the chemical echoes of supernovae. In understanding it, humans understand not just matter, but continuity, causality, and the quiet poetry of existence. You feel awe without fear, curiosity without restlessness, and an openness to whatever is yet to come. The light shifts subtly as you imagine distant suns illuminating asteroids in fleeting glimmers, casting long shadows that stretch like soft memories across cratered surfaces. You watch dust motes drift slowly, tiny dances in invisible currents, each movement reflecting a story older than time you can measure. In the stillness, you feel the gentle pulse of connection, between human ambition and cosmic patience, between imagination and reality, between the known and the yet to be discovered. The universe seems to exhale softly, a reassurance that exploration itself is a reward. You drift toward a particularly small asteroid, no bigger than a modest hill. Its surface is rough, its color a subtle mix of iron and stone, almost imperceptible against the black backdrop. You imagine the delicate instruments tracing its contours, recording data, revealing compositions hidden beneath its crust. Even this smallest stone has value, not in commercial terms, but in the quiet enrichment of understanding. Each particle you imagine lifting carries with it a story of cosmic creation, of elemental transformation, of time itself crystallized in matter. Your thoughts stretch outward, encompassing the vast potential of this field. What humans do with asteroid resources could define an era: energy flowing to remote outposts, metals sustaining life and technology, knowledge spreading like a gentle tide across planets. But more than material gain, you sense the deeper gift: curiosity fulfilled, creativity nurtured, imagination expanded. You feel a smile on your lips, not from excitement, but from quiet comprehension that even in silence, progress hums softly. As your mind prepares to leave this imagined journey, you linger on one final vision. A future where humans glide past asteroid belts with reverence, where children look to the night sky and know that those stones are not just cold rock, but companions, teachers, and sources of inspiration. A place where the whisper of distant worlds encourages collaboration rather than conflict, curiosity rather than greed, patience rather than hurry. You feel the calm certainty that even the tiniest fragment can echo across civilizations, carrying with it lessons and dreams. And in this soft, endless space, you feel the gentle nudge of continuity. One chapter closes, but the story stretches outward like a constellation yet to be named, each asteroid a point of light in the ongoing narrative of human wonder. You close your eyes in your mind's eye, drifting on the gentle current of possibility, hearing the quiet murmur of the universe: there is more to come.